Over a decade, one man took 52 lives, shocking a nation. His name was Anatoly Onoprienko, and his reign of terror left an indelible mark on Ukraine's history. This is the chilling story of Anatoly Onoprienko, a notorious Ukrainian serial killer. Known for his cold, calculating demeanor, Onoprienko's actions were as ruthless as they were inexplicable. From 1996 to 1997, he terrorized rural communities, leaving a trail of fear and devastation in his wake. His methodical approach and ability to evade capture baffled authorities. Committing brutal murders that left villagers in fear, Onoprienko's presence was like a dark shadow over the countryside. Families would lock their doors and windows, praying they wouldn't be next. Known as the Death Angel, he often chose families as his victims, striking with a ferocity that was both shocking and horrifying. His attacks were swift and merciless, leaving no survivors. Striking in the dead of night, Onoprienko would break into homes, slaughtering entire families as they slept. Imagine the terror that gripped these small, tight-knit communities. Picture the peaceful Ukrainian countryside where life moved at a slower pace and everyone knew their neighbors. It was a place of tranquility and simplicity. Now imagine the darkness that descended upon it, the fear that spread like wildfire, turning serene villages into places of dread and suspicion. The once peaceful nights were now filled with anxiety and unease. Onoprienko's motives remained a mystery, shrouded in the brutality of his actions. What drove him to commit such heinous acts? Was it a deep-seated hatred, a desire for power, or something even more sinister? Shrouded in the brutality of his actions, his motives were never fully understood. Each crime scene told a story of unimaginable horror, with bloodstains and broken lives left behind. He moved like a phantom, slipping through the night with an eerie silence. His ability to evade capture only added to his terrifying legend. Leaving a trail of death and destruction in his wake, Onoprienko's reign of terror is a grim reminder of the darkness that can lurk within the human soul. His story is one of fear, mystery, and the unrelenting pursuit of a killer who seemed almost otherworldly. Onoprienko's reign of terror began in 1989. His first victims, a couple and their 2 children, were found brutally murdered in their own home. This marked the beginning of a horrifying pattern. Families were ripped apart in the night. Homes were turned into tombs. The villages lived in fear. Whispers of the beast of Ukraine spread like wildfire. People were afraid to sleep, afraid to answer their doors. The once peaceful countryside was gripped by terror. Onoprienko's methods were as disturbing as they were effective. He would often use a sawed-off shotgun to overpower his victims. Then he would finish them off with blunt force trauma using whatever was at hand. Nothing was sacred. Nothing was safe. But the horror didn't end there. Onoprienko would often set fire to the homes of his victims. He aimed to erase his tracks, leaving behind only ashes and despair. As the body count rose, so did the pressure on the Ukrainian authorities. A massive manhunt was launched. Police followed every lead, desperate to stop the bloodshed. Villagers lived in a constant state of fear. Finally, in 1996, the net closed in. A tip from an informant led police to Onoprienko's doorstep. He was arrested without incident. A nation breathed a collective sigh of relief. The nightmare was finally over. During his trial, Onoprienko confessed to his crimes. He showed little remorse, describing his actions in chilling detail. His claims about his past sent shockwaves through the courtroom and beyond. He claimed to have been abused as a child. He spoke of visions and voices. The court sentenced him to life in prison. But his case raised troubling questions. Was he a product of his environment, a victim of abuse? Or was he simply born evil? The debate raged on. Nature versus nurture, a killer's origin. The age-old debate of whether a person is born evil or shaped by their environment has never been more relevant than in the case of Anatoly Onoprienko. Onoprienko's case sparked a debate that continues to this day. His actions were so heinous, so beyond comprehension, that they forced society to confront uncomfortable questions about the nature of evil. Was he born a monster hardwired for violence? Some believe that certain individuals are simply born with a predisposition towards malevolence, their genetic makeup, a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. Or was he shaped into one by the horrors of his childhood? Onoprienko's early years were marked by instability and trauma, factors that many argue could have contributed to his later actions. Experts and the public alike wrestled with these questions. Psychologists, criminologists, and everyday people found themselves divided, each side presenting compelling arguments. There are no easy answers. The complexity of human behavior defies simple explanations, and Onoprienko's case is a stark reminder of this. Some argued that his upbringing, marked by claims of abuse and neglect, created a breeding ground for violence and rage. They pointed to his troubled childhood as the root cause of his monstrous actions. Others pointed to his cold, calculated methods, arguing that they suggested a chillingly detached, inherently evil mind. They believed that no amount of environmental factors could fully explain the depth of his cruelty. The courtroom became a battleground for these conflicting views, each side presenting evidence to support their theories. The trial was not just about justice for the victims, but also a quest to understand the nature of evil itself. Modern science has attempted to bridge the gap, using brain scans and psychological evaluations to uncover the mysteries of the human mind. Yet even with advanced technology, the question remains, can we ever truly understand what drives a person to commit such atrocities? As we remember the victims and seek to prevent future tragedies, the debate over nature versus nurture continues. It is a question that may never be fully answered, but one that we must keep asking. Justice, but not peace. Onoprienko's life sentence brought a sense of justice, but it did little to heal the wounds he inflicted. The families of his victims were left to pick up the pieces. The villages he terrorized struggled to move on. The scars of his crimes ran deep, etched into the very fabric of Ukrainian society. His name became synonymous with fear, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of even the most peaceful communities. Scars on the Ukrainian soul. The impact of Onoprienko's crimes extended far beyond his victims. His reign of terror left an indelible mark on the Ukrainian psyche. People were forced to confront the reality of evil. They had to come to terms with the vulnerability of human life. Even today, his name evokes a visceral reaction. He's a figure of nightmares, a reminder that even in the most idyllic settings, darkness can lurk. His crimes forced Ukraine to confront its own vulnerability, its own mortality. The beast within, a phrase that evokes a sense of dread, a feeling that something dark and sinister lurks beneath the surface of humanity. The story of Anatoly Onoprienko is a chilling reminder of the capacity for evil that exists within humanity. Known as the Beast of Ukraine, Onoprienko's reign of terror left an indelible mark on the collective psyche of a nation. His actions were not just crimes, they were manifestations of a deep-seated malevolence that defied comprehension. It is a story of terror, of loss, and of the enduring power of fear. The abandoned homes and broken windows serve as silent witnesses to the horrors that unfolded. Each creak of the floorboards, each gust of wind through shattered glass, tells a tale of lives disrupted and dreams shattered. But it is also a story that forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about ourselves. When we look into the mirror, do we see a reflection of our own potential for darkness? The fear in our eyes is not just of external threats, but of the shadows that lurk within our own souls. What turns a human being into a monster? Is it a traumatic childhood, a series of unfortunate events, or an inherent flaw in their nature? The old photographs of families, once happy and now torn apart, raise questions that have no easy answers. The young man staring down the empty street is a poignant reminder of the paths we choose and the paths that choose us. Is it nature, nurture, or some chilling combination of the two? The innocence of a child at play juxtaposed with the same child, now forlorn, paints a stark picture of the potential for change. The brewing storm over a once calm landscape symbolizes the turbulent forces that shape our destinies. These are questions that continue to haunt us, questions that linger in the flickering candlelight of our darkest thoughts. The old dusty courtroom stands as a monument to the search for justice, a place where society grapples with the complexities of human behavior, questions that linger long after the final verdict is read. The sound of the gavel, the clacking of the typewriter, these are the sounds of closure, yet they do not bring peace. The final verdict may be delivered, but the echoes of the trial reverberate through time. The beast of Ukraine may be gone, but the questions he raised remain. The empty prison cell is a stark reminder of the void left behind, while the memorial flowers at the crime scene symbolize the enduring pain of those left to pick up the pieces. In the end, we are left to ponder the nature of evil and the fragility of our own humanity.